All right, here we're back with another episode of Me and My Motor. Today we're here with Spencer. Hi, Spencer. How you doing? Thanks for coming.
Really good, man. Appreciate you guys having me out again.
Great, yeah, awesome. And wow, back here we have an amazing car. Tell us just a little bit about this car.
Yeah, that's my 2010 Nissan GTR. It's fully built transmission, motor. It's got aftermarket intercooler, radiators, rods, pistons. It's got big turbos. It's got a bunch of carbon fiber add-ons that you guys will see a little bit later, from fenders to doors to diffusers and trunks, and kind of really put together my vision, and I'm really thrilled with kind of how the car came together. I always say the car is done, and then I find something else to add on. So it's probably pretty close to done, because just about every part that you can swap on the car has been swapped. There's just a couple of pieces left, and I'm a little on the fence about what's left.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So we'll talk about the car a bit later, but tell us a bit about yourself, Spencer.
Yeah, so my name is Spencer. I've got my wife, her name is Lauren, and then I've got a beautiful 3.5-year-old little baby girl. Her name is Ellie.
Awesome.
My wife and I, we are small business owners here in the Valley. We own a company called MacPack Dog Training and Boarding.
Okay.
We do
Awesome.
doggy daycare, overnight boarding, we do dog training, and we've opened Arizona's first indoor dog park. We have 2 locations. We'll keep adding more kind of as demand and generation grows and things like that. But yeah, small business owners, born in New York, raised in Vancouver, and I've been in Arizona probably the last 15, 20 years now.
15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay, what brought you to Arizona?
My parents.
Okay.
um,
Got it.
back then it was I was just a kid following them around. They decided to move here, so I moved here with them.
Okay, gotcha, yeah.
It's been great, man.
All right, so tell me a bit about how you got into cars as a kid, like what that experience was like that kind of led you on your journey.
Sure. It's really funny because my dad was actually a driving school instructor,
Okay.
and so growing up, anytime that I was in the car with my dad, as soon as I was old enough to sit in the front seat,
Mm-hmm.
I actually had my own steering wheel and my own gas pedal and my own brake pedal.
Like the student driving car,
It's a
right?
student driver car.
Yeah, okay.
But that was the car that I got picked up in from school. So as soon as I
That's
was
great.
old enough to actually sit in the front seat, every single time I would ask my dad, "Hey, can I drive home? Can I drive home? Can I drive home?" All right, and obviously he would do most of the driving.
Yeah, yeah.
But even just a sensation from a very very young age of getting to drive a car,
Right.
for me, a car just represents so much. And what I learned from an early age is being able to have that sense of control, but also that sense of freedom and that sense of enjoyment. I can't tell you how many times I'd run out of school to go get my dad's car because I wanted to drive home. And, like,
That's great.
I really found a passion, not necessarily for cars at that point, but really just for driving.
Hmm.
And then my passion for cars came a little bit later.
Yeah, so tell us about that. So you mentioned earlier to me that when you were a kid, you had this car, or an earlier version of it, I should say, on your wall,
Yes.
right? The poster. So tell us about that.
Yeah, as you get older, right? Love it or hate it, I think the movie franchises, the Fast and the Furious. You got
Yeah.
the Paul Walker R34 GTR. There was a time in the 2000s where, we look back now and it was really kind of the emergence of the car scene.
Yeah,
Right? Cars were, especially modified cars, were either unobtainable, modifications were excessively expensive, or you were kind of told what mods to buy. Like,
Yeah.
there was a NOS phase, and there was a body kit phase.
Yeah.
You were kind of told what you wanted to buy, and but it was good for the car scene as a whole, because
Yeah.
it was kind of the emergence of customization
Oh,
and
yeah, yeah.
modifications. And I kind of got swept up in that, but when I was 13, 14 years old, and these cars came out, won the 2009 Motor Trend
Yeah.
Car of the Year, and so that's when I kind of got swept up into this particular car. Was kind of as I was coming out of high school, and going into college, and trying to kind of find that trophy car that I was gonna say that was gonna make me feel really good one day if I ever
Mhm.
got a chance to own it, and it just happened to be this one.
Awesome, awesome, great. And so you talked a bit about your dad was a driving school instructor. As you're growing up and you kind of got into cars, was he the main mentor, or was there other people that you kind of looked up to that kind of sparked your interest or passion in driving cars? You know, the car culture, if you will, that whole Fast and the Furious things
Yeah.
that came about.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think as I think back to it, you know, the first kind of enthusiast car that I really got was a Lexus IS 250. It was
Okay.
2007.
Right.
IS 250 was a six-speed manual. I wanted the 350, but the 350 didn't come in a manual,
Right.
so I had to get a 250.
Okay.
And that really spurred my interest in car enthusiasts, right? For car enthusiasts. I was part of the Lexus Club of Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
and I will tell you that a lot of my influence comes from, you know, just intrinsically, what am I passionate about? What do I love? You know, I can look at a car and say, hey, I really like that, or I don't like that. And so just intrinsically making decisions based on how I feel about the car. And I will tell you that, and then subsequently, every other car that I've gotten into, the community and the culture
Yeah.
that comes along with it
Right.
has really, really influenced a lot about where I end up going with my car.
Okay.
Right. So when I was part of the Lexus Club, we would have a meetup once a month. We'd go get food. We'd go cruise the cars around and stuff, right? And everybody would just talk about their cars. And I learned a really big sense of appreciation because when you say Lexus Club, it's not all like newer Lexuses and up,
Right.
right? People were rocking the SC430s and the SC400s from back in the day.
Right.
People were rocking the old ISs, right? And
Yeah.
so there was just the variation in the history of that car. And when you get plugged into car culture, there's people that will really take you under your wing
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
will really educate you on kind of the history of the brand and the history of the cars. One of my good friends here in the GTR club has just about every GTR ever made and all the V specs and the V spec twos, and he educates me constantly on, you know, there's only so many of these, and this
Yeah.
is
That's
the big
great.
number. But as much as I love my cars from my I've had what I consider kind of the three collector cars that I've had, the
Mm-hmm.
real enthusiast cars were my Lexus. I've had G37s, and then
Right.
ultimately the GTR. And the community I've been able to get plugged into at every single level has been one of my favorite things about car culture.
That's great. One of the best things is the community aspect of it, like the people you meet. Tell me about the G37.
I had a 2008 G37 Coupe.
Okay, I had the same year. Red.
I loved it. All my cars have been black.
Okay, yeah.
Every
Alright.
single one of my cars has been black. The only alteration I've ever made is like one of my Lexus. I had an IS 350, and my IS 350 F Sport all-wheel drive had red seats instead of black, and that was like what every like real enthusiast car
Exterior
had.
black paint.
Exterior color is black.
Okay.
So my G37 was a 2008. I left it pretty much stock. I mean, the only thing I did to it was intakes, but I just remember back in the day in when you saw the G37s
Mhm.
and you found out the baby Skylines, whatever you want to call
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
right? When you found out that that car was making over 300 horsepower, they had
Yeah.
rear-wheel drive, they had all-wheel drive, they had a hardtop convertible. That
Yeah.
was like such a cool car. And I've done this a couple of times, and I'll never do it again. But a couple of times I bought the wrong car. That the 250 as opposed to the 350.
Right.
There was a time I bought an RS Camaro instead of an SS Camaro, which is why I ended up owning two. Right. On the G37, you really couldn't buy the wrong G37.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
the 37 was the 37. It went from the IS 250 because I bought the wrong one to a faster car, which was the G37, and I absolutely loved it. And I told and I beat myself up now thinking about it, but an ex-girlfriend, I would visit her, and her dad would come out and check it out, and he wasn't into imports.
Hmm.
And he told me straight up, he's like, "Oh, you should drive an American. You should drive a Camaro. You should drive a Challenger,
Okay.
whatever, right?" And that's how I ended up actually getting
Got
talked into a Camaro. I dabbled in BMWs for 90 days,
Okay.
and figured out quickly that wasn't for me. And then I went back to the Lexus, the 350 F Sport, and then from the Lexus, it was back to from the Lexus to the GT.
Okay, well, what was the first car you had? You know, before you got the Lexus, right? There was something before that, right? Everyone's got their first car, which probably isn't the car you wanted, right?
It was a manager special. It was
Okay.
I think it was a gosh, it was I think it was like a 2000, maybe 2000, 2001. It was a white Chevy Malibu.
Okay.
It was if I could vote for the most boring car ever made, it's not a Camry. It's probably this Malibu.
Chevy Malibu. Yeah.
Super, super boring car. It was white. The lines on the car looked like something I could have drawn in third grade. Those were the lines for the car. I tried to put a speaker system in it. It didn't work. I tried to modify the car. It didn't really do much for the car. Like,
Okay, yeah.
if you remember like the classic 2000 like tan beige type of
Yes.
interiors, yeah, that's what the car had. It was white on the
Yeah.
outside, which is boring color. It was that tan beige on the inside, which is the most boring color.
Yeah.
And it just got me to school and back.
Your initial experience with modding cars wasn't great, right? But I guess when you got the Lexus, you started to modify it and have success. What was that? I guess what was that feeling like? You have the car you want. You're starting to like put a build together. What was that feeling like of that first mod you did with the Lexus and going out taking a drive?
It's everything you expect it to be. It's everything you want it to be. It's a moment of pure joy and pure happiness. Most of the time when I mod my car, I will probably say that the mods exceed my expectation.
Okay.
The first time you throw an intake on your car and you can kind of hear it a little better,
Yeah.
and you hear it a little better,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a moment of real happiness.
Yeah.
That's a moment of, hey, I did something.
Yeah.